My friends, the goods have been acquired and it is finally time to read Alchemized. I'm so excited about this. This book arrived last night on my doorstep and I cannot wait to read it. This weekend I have a very few plans, which is incredibly rare, so we're going to be reading Alchemized together. In all fairness, I did start this on audio a couple of days ago, so I got a little bit into it. This book is a chunker, okay? I know it doesn't look it, but it is over 1,000 pages long and it's going to break my heart. I just know it is. This book is horrific in like a good way, if that makes sense. Like, it's supposed to be horrific. Let me quickly read the synopsis for you to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. Once a promising alchemist, Helena Marino is now a prisoner of war and of her own mind. Her resistance friends and allies have been brutally murdered, her abilities suppressed, and the world she knew destroyed. In the aftermath of a long war, Palladia's new ruling class of corrupt guild families and depraved necromancers, whose vile undead creatures helped bring about their victory, holds Helena captive. Helena or Helena, I don't know which way. I'm going to have to listen to the audiobook again because I cannot remember right now. According to the Resistance record, she was a healer of little importance within their ranks, but Helena has inexplicable memory loss of the months leading up to her capture, making her enemies wonder, is she truly as insignificant as she appears, or are her lost memories hiding some vital piece of the Resistance final gambit? To uncover the memories buried deep within her mind, Helena is sent to the High Reeve, one of the most powerful and ruthless necromancers in this new world. Trapped on his crumbling estate, Helena's fight to protect her lost history and to preserve the last remaining shreds of her former self is just the beginning, for her prison and captor have secrets of their own, secrets Helena must unearth whatever the cost. The world in this book is so incredible. Just in the first, like, how far am I? 200 pages. It's really intense, and honestly, I'm still confused on some things. It's deep in alchemy and necromancy and the magic source within this world. It's incredibly deep and rich in detail, and I think that that's the hardest part, is like, you can't really skip over anything, you can't miss anything. If I miss something on an audiobook, I have to go back and listen to it again because everything seems important. There's also this nuance of like religion and classism that goes into place. Our main character, Helena, is from an island south of Palladia, which is like the main land in this world. She's kind of looked down on because of that. Like, she is an outsider and she's not meant to be like as high as she is within the Resistance. And I think that that holds a heavy weight to Helena in her life and how she moves forward and how she acts around other people and with her magic that she has. The magic in this is called the resonance, I believe. And she kind of holds herself to like a higher standard because of the prejudice that she receives from everyone. Like, I think the evil side of this war, of this world, looks down on her for obvious reasons, and then the good guys, or the team that the side that she is essentially supporting, kind of holds her in this place because of where she's from, who she is, what her magic entails, and they kind of keep her on a leash. And I think that that's going to make an interesting point as we get further into this novel, just about her power and how she thinks of herself too. So we'll see as we get a little bit deeper into this, but there's a lot to unpack in this book, and there's a lot of emotion that I have already gone through. Like, there are some scenes that are just like straight up disgusting. And I feel like this world is very descriptive, and I'm kind of grossed out by some of the descriptions that we get because of like the necromancy aspect of this. There's the undying, there are people who are living forever, but like, can you live forever in the body that you have that was not made to live forever? So you have that little discussion, but also like just the violence in this book is pretty intense. And luckily nothing too graphic as far as like a female body, but like there has been some pretty graphic speak and some pretty violent scenes that are just a little bit hard to read. So I think this book is going to be a little bit difficult, but also I'm hoping for some true hope in here. I'm hoping for some romance. I'm hoping for a little bit of goodness, and we're just not there yet, which is fine. I know this, but that's what I'm hoping for. So that's what we're going to be doing this weekend, is just reading this book, and I will give you my thoughts as I keep reading. I'm going to sit down and read a little bit more right now, and I would love to get to part 2 today. No, I want to get further than part 2. I don't have any plans tonight, so I'm hoping I can get to part 2. I believe part 2 jumps back in the past, so we get a little bit of Helena's like lost memories, and that's the part that I'm really excited about. So I'm going to keep reading, and I'll give you my thoughts when I've got an update, but just know that this book is going to break me, and I'm probably going to cry in this vlog, let's be real. So let's go read. Okay, my friend told me if I could get through the first 200 pages of House of Earth and Blood, then I would be fine reading Alchemized. This is harder, for sure. There's so much about alchemy that I do not know, and I'm totally going in blind here because, to be honest, I don't really understand alchemy, and I think that the author is doing a great job of like very clearly explaining every single part of this magic system and this world, but there's something about it that is not connecting to my brain, and I'm like, how does this even work? Like, I think I just need to picture it. I think I just need to picture it like this is magic, alchemy is magic, and how they manipulate different types of metals is their magic, and I hope that's correct, but if it's not, don't tell me, because I'm not sure my brain can handle anything different than that right now. So that's kind of how I'm reading this. Overall, like, the world is incredibly rich, and the magic system is incredibly rich, and all these little nuances, as I talked about, like the religion and the classism and everything that goes into like the way that this society has been built and how it got destroyed and rebuilt through war is hurting my brain a little bit. So I'm trying to read this slow. I'm trying to take my time, but I'm having to keep flipping back to my notes and like chat with my friends because I am so confused still. And like I'm hoping that at some point it'll just click for me. That moment has not come yet, but I'm hoping it comes soon. Okay, my friends, it is much later in the day and I have the house to myself, and I'm gonna settle in and get a ton of reading done. Fingers crossed, that's the hope. I'm currently on page 250. This book is such a lie. Like, these pages are so thin. This book is over 1,000 pages long. It does not look like this. Anyways, I am enjoying this book. Do I want to say enjoying this book? I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the complex world building. I'm loving the characters. Like, I'm really loving this book. I do feel like there is a little bit of info dumping happening. There are moments. So our main character, Helena, has lost her memory of the last, I don't know, 16 months, 2 years, something like that. And so there are moments in this book where I think it's supposed to be like her remembering things is kind of the gist I'm getting, but it feels a little bit info dumpy, and there will just be like 3 pages of information about this world, and I'm like, what is happening? It feels like a lot, and I'm not sure if there's a better way the author could have given us this information. I might have an idea once I get through the book if there's a better way, but there are pockets of this book that feel really heavy. I mean, the whole book is really heavy. There are pockets of this book that feel like really info heavy, and it gets like, I feel a little lost in the world building. However, I'm loving the current situation we're in now. Helena is being kind of like taken care of by the High Reeve. She lives in his mansion, and he's supposed to be like digging through her mind to kind of unravel whatever spell was put on her mind to like hide all of the secrets and her memories of the last 2 years, and he's trying to figure it out because they believe that there's something in her brain that's like worth hiding for the rebellion. And so they're trying to figure out what that is, and that's his whole job. But there's obviously some sort of connection between the High Reeve and Helena that we do not understand right now as the reader. And it just gets like more complicated, and it gets a little bit darker the longer she stays in the mansion with other characters who come into the mansion and interact with her, or places that she's taken, or people that she's interacting with due to her situation. And she's pretty like high profile because of who she was during the war with the rebellion, and kind of like the idea of what she could be hiding in her mind. So there's like a ton to unpack. I do think that part 2, I think I said this, goes back in time, and I want to get farther than that tonight. So part 2 is coming up, I believe, like in the next few chapters. Yes, okay. I have 29 pages left until I get to part 2, and then I'm hoping to read like a chunk tonight. Like I would love to get like 200 pages read tonight. We'll see if that happens. I'll keep you posted, but so far this book is really hard to read, but I'm also loving it at the same time. I know that feels a little confusing, but it's just the nature of the writing. It is a dark fantasy, and it does feel very dark and bleak right now. So I'm just gonna hold on to the hope that things will get better eventually. We kind of have to go through it first, and hopefully we get a little bit of hope later on. My friends, it has been a little while since I've updated you on Alchemized. I have been doing quite a bit of reading. I am, I don't know, 70%, I think. I'm on chapter 60, and I am about to lose my mind. This book is breaking me in half. At specific moments, I'm not sure if I want to throw up or cry. And if there is not any sort of happiness in part 3, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, I will riot. These two are everything to me. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to do any spoilers in this vlog because I feel like if you don't know the story of Alchemized, then you should go in totally blind. I am deep into part 2, like 100 pages away from part 3. And so I know that it gets really, really bad before it can get any better. And I do want to say, I don't know if you know this or not, but this book was adapted from a fanfic called Manacled. And Manacled is a fan fiction between Draco and Hermione from Harry Potter. And when the fanfic was picked up by a publisher, the author obviously had to change everything about this story because it can't be connected to Harry Potter in any sort of way, as the author does not own any part of Harry Potter. And this world is completely different. Like, if you didn't know that it used to be fanfic, you would have no idea that it's connected. And I think that's really beautiful. Like, that really goes to show the effort that the author went into writing their own story and building an entirely complex new world, and just kind of taking the main plots of what they had written in the fanfic and dropping it in this brand new world that they have created and these new characters that they have created. And it's quite incredible. Like, I'm mind blown by the work that the author has put into writing this story. So I don't necessarily want to tie this book to the fanfic or the fanfic world, like the Harry Potter world, because they're not connected at all. Like, obviously the author wrote both pieces of literature, right? They wrote Manacled and they wrote Alchemized, but I don't want to make any sort of connection with Harry Potter or JKR because this is not connected at all, and I want to make that really, really clear. This is such a work of art, and I'm already ready to reread this book. And I honestly want this book to be like so well loved and annotated. There have been moments where I'm like, oh, I'm just like itching for my highlighter or my pen to like write notes in here, and I just want to enjoy the first read and really like enjoy every single word and minute that I'm reading it, and not trying to like take notes all the time, because I want to just be in this book. And then I know I'm going to reread this book very shortly and like annotate the crap out of it because it's so beautiful. There's so many moments and callbacks to like things in part one. I think the author did such an incredible job at like setting the stage in part one and then seeing things in part two. Part two is in the past, so you're getting these glimpses of like why things are the way they are in part one from part two. And like every single moment that was mentioned in part one of like something that our main character has forgotten or feels like not a big deal, or something that happens, there's a reason why, because it's in part two and she just doesn't remember. And I think that's honestly so beautiful. And I know that it's gonna break me. My friend finished this book last night and she said she just like sobbed in the end, which I'm fully prepared to do. So I have already shed a few tears. There have been some beautiful moments. There have been some really terrible moments. I think honestly, the thing that gets me about our two main characters, about the High Reeve, Kane, and our FMC, Helena, is that they both are just so lonely and desperate to feel wanted, and just have never had that feeling like they're wanted, that they're cared about, that someone cares about them, that someone loves them. And I think the fact that they have each other is just so beautiful. And I'm not ready for them to lose that yet. I'm gonna cry. I'm not ready for them to lose that yet. But I can't not finish the book, so I'm gonna finish it. I'm hoping to finish it today. I don't know, I have 280 pages left, which feels like a lot, especially in this book. I would love to get at least to part 3 today, if not even further into part 3, because I want to finish the story, but I also want to be in here forever. So it's a very complicated feeling, but there are my thoughts so far on Alchemized. I'm going to sit down right now and do some reading, and I don't know, I'm so in love with this world. I'm so in love with these characters. I'm so in love with the writing. Like, everything about this is giving me yes, it's giving me 5 stars. And I think that's interesting because at the beginning I was like, wow, there's a lot of info here. Sometimes it felt a little info dumpy and I was not into that, but like I'm overlooking all of that right now because it's all kind of making sense and I'm starting to see the bigger picture. I'm starting to see the clear picture, and I don't know if I would have done anything differently in part 1, but it's definitely all starting to make sense in part 2. So I hope that makes sense. I'll give you an update, hopefully at the end of part 2. We'll see. I have finished part 2 of Alchemized, and no, I'm not okay. Some tears were shed. I'm not sure how everything's going to wrap up in part 3. There are about 160 pages left, I want to say, in this book. And as I mentioned, this book is over 1,000 pages long. So the majority of the story has happened. We really just need to, I don't want to say like get through the conflict, because the whole book has been conflict, honestly. But we need to like figure out a way to move forward. And I'm not sure how that's going to happen at the current spot we are at. And I think I'm just trying to figure out, like, there are so many characters in this book and so many morally gray characters, I want to say. And I think that just goes to show, like, in war you have to make the hard choices, and that doesn't mean that they are necessarily like the good choices or the choices you would make when you're not in war. And I hope that makes sense. But there are hard choices that have to be made for like the good of other people, or the promises that you've made to other people, or for the good of yourself and protecting those that you love. And I think it's just, everyone's in a really hard spot, and it's really hard to read, just feeling like, I mean, as a reader, we obviously can't help these people, right? They're, one, fiction, and two, we're not in that world. Like, we're not able to help. We're there to watch, we're there to witness and like be there with them as they go through this journey. And that can be really tough when you feel like this emotionally connected to the characters. And I think the author has done such a good job at you really feeling every single emotion. And this book has been raw, it has been horrific. There have been some moments that are incredibly graphic that have like just wrecked my heart, and I'm loving it, but it's also really hard to read. So I'm hoping for some hope in the part 3. And like, I don't want to dissuade anyone reading this book by my description. Like, as I said, like, this is going to be a 5-star for me without a doubt. But I don't want you going in thinking that like, oh, this is like such a romantic story of like people finding love through war. No, this book is so much more than that. And at the end of the day, you hope that when you survive a war, like, you can put some semblance of your life back together. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now, is like, what can they put back together? What can our characters put back together to like make some sort of life and happiness after all of the horrors that they have lived through and are actually currently living through? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I will probably not read for a little bit. And as I said, I have about 150, 160 pages left, and I kind of want to read all of part 3 like in one go. So hopefully I can sit down tonight after bedtime and like read the rest of this book, because I feel like once I get into part 3, I'm not going to want to stop. So that's the hope, but we'll see what we can get through and if my heart is going to be able to handle it, honestly. Okay, it has been a few days, but I have in fact finished Alchemized by Sen-Lin Yu, and dare I say this is my favorite book of the year. I can't believe I'm saying that. I don't know. Why can't I believe I'm saying that? I am blown away by this book. I'm blown away by the world that this author has created, and the magic system and the depth of the characters and all of the little pieces that fall into place throughout this book. It is incredible. I think if you are a fan of a romantic high fantasy that is a little bit on the darker side, I highly recommend picking up this book. I have seen quite a bit of discourse in the like social book space about this book being trauma porn, and I have to wholeheartedly disagree with that. In my opinion, every single moment that happens in this book is there for a reason. I think the darker elements that we have in this book and some of the harder topics, I want to say, I mean, this book definitely deals with some deeper issues, some darker topics that you might not get in your standard fantasy romance book. And I think all of those elements are there for a purpose. They all serve a purpose for the development of the characters, for the plot to be pulled forward, for the magic system to be understood, and for you to really understand like the concept of war and the destruction that war has, and the destruction that prejudice can have, and just how our words are powerful, how our actions are powerful, how war can tear us apart, even if you're on the winning side or if you think you're fighting for the right reason, how there's always like a sense of darkness. And I think that this leads to some really interesting discussion. I mean, I've been talking with my friends quite a bit about this book and how we feel about this book, and I just love the discussion and kind of the discourse that we've been having about the topics that are shown throughout this book, and just like the relationship in here. I mean, I think the relationship that is highlighted in this book is not perfect. None of the relationships in this book are perfect. I think one of the topics that we really kind of get into the meat of in this book is the concept of like bending ourselves in a way that we might not have thought for the people that we love, and how we sacrifice everything for the people that we love. And I don't know, there's so much to unpack here. Like, I feel like I'm ready to reread this book already. I want to annotate this the next time I read it. Honestly, like, I'll probably reread this book quite soon. It's tough because it is quite long. As I said, this book is over 1,000 pages long, and it does take quite a bit of brain power. The world building itself is quite intense and detailed, and I feel like I'll get so much more like nuance and understanding of this world on my reread. So I feel like it's kind of necessary to reread this book, but I'm like excited to reread this book again. I want to be hurt again. I want to be back with these characters. I want to like not necessarily suffer with them, but like walk with them through the fire, through their trials, through all of those dark moments, and really like be there with them in this book. Like, I honestly feel like I know these characters as real people. Like, it's just an incredible work of art, and I highly recommend reading. If any of these ideas or topics sound interesting to you, I think if you don't like the deeper topics, if you don't want something that goes into a darker space, don't read this book, at least not right now. But if you are at all interested, I highly recommend picking this book up. I will say the first like 150 to 200 pages is very heavy as far as like info dumping, I would say. And you kind of have to like get through that to get to the meat of the romance in this story, but it'll be worth it for you. So I'm giving this book 6 stars. This was such a hit for me, obviously. Favorite book of the year so far, probably won't be topped in the rest of the year. So you heard it here, folks. This is my favorite book of the year. I don't know where to go from here, honestly. Like, I haven't stopped thinking about this book since I finished it, and I don't think it'll be topped this year. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Thank you for going through the journey with me of reading this giant novel, but I so appreciate you being here on my channel and supporting me and watching my videos. So let me know in the comments down below if you have also read this book, or if it's on your TBR. I would love to know what you thought about this book, if our feelings align, or if you have like some different thoughts, and I would love to discuss them with you in the comments below. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one soon. Bye!